Hey guys, welcome back. BDC Gara here. We're back with our weekly recap of all things Injustice. This is for the week of October 12th, 2023. The current character challenge is Bounty Hunter Lobo. That is a 1 week repeat. The required characters for that are Flash, Green Arrow, and Green Lantern, who you can all get as low as bronze directly from the store, which is great. It's also fewer fights than usual. It's 9 each, and then 12, instead of 12 and then 15. And it's the same at expert level. So all in all, this is great for newer players, right? Just better in pretty much every way for ensuring you get your copy. And his passive is Hooked, which means when Lobo performs Special 2, the enemy cannot tag out until the fire damage over time runs its course. And every successful Special 2 makes the next Special 2 damage and damage over time length go up by 20%.
Right.
He's got 1,250 attack and 950 health and was last available on the 15th of December, 2022.
Right. So, medium stats, they're low compared to the more recent challenge golds, but at one point he had the highest attack. Hard to believe. And I believe he was first released pre-Tantu Totem, because I distinctly remember his passive and thinking it was pretty useless, relying on Special 2, and it would take too long for repeat Special 2s to have that passive even make a difference. I think in terms of, if we go start with what's wrong with him, I think the biggest problem is that his Special 2 isn't ranged enough. The range is less than how far Master's Death Cart will shove most of the time if you happen to be using, the typical standard loadout of Master's Death Cart and Tantu Totem to give him an instant tag in Special 2, and instant is sort of a misnomer because you still need one more hit, right?
Yeah.
So the ideal loadout for any Special 2 specialist usually involves Tantu Totem, Master's Death Cart, but because Master's Death Cart shoves so far, you can't get full value for Special 2 during the initial moments, while Master's Death Cart keeps the opponent from blocking, because starting your Special 2 too soon means your first hit will miss. And so I've always been sort of curious and never got around to it. So this time I did. I went back to a fight. I did a recording and looked at the footage for a fight where all the hits were crit, and I was able to get a 200% on the second part of the sliding game, because the first part is the tapping in the circle to get 200%, and the second part is the sliding to hit in the middle. And it's pretty hard.
That with maximum damage, sort of where all of the damage is coming from in his special, on which hits. Right.
So the first hit was 29.7%. The second hit that tosses them in the air, if it's unblocked, is 9.5%. The third hit is 39.2%, and the last hit is 21.6%. So what that tells you is you're giving up almost a third of the total damage from a Special 2 if you're whiffing on the first hit.
Which is significant.
Right. So if you don't want to use a power generating gear in the third slot, which is what you would need to do if you were gonna try to hopefully get your Special 2 off as quickly as possible when you tag in, so you don't need a basic combo, you're gonna generate enough power, and sometimes you'll be close enough to get the first hit of Special 2 in. Yeah. If you don't want to use power generating gear, then your strategy has to change. So you have to do swipe combo. And this is where Lobo actually kind of shines. His swipe combo is great because it is a fully ranged shotgun.
Which is rare.
Yeah. I mean, I think Arkham Knight has his pistols.
That's true.
Right? But a lot of characters aren't as ranged as he is for his swipe combo. So the opponent won't be too far away to be hit no matter how far Master's Death Cart shoves them. And more importantly, they won't be too far away for you to generate power, which is sort of the whole point. You don't even really care how much damage you do. You want to generate power. The problem is, Lobo is vulnerable to an opponent that has power, because after your swipe combo, it's really hard to get your Special 2 off first before their special. So you want to get it quick enough, but also late enough so that you're close enough for the first hit of your Special 2, worth 30% of the total damage.
Yeah, you kind of have to wait for them to close the distance, but then before they can do anything, which is a really narrow window. It's hard balance, and I don't think I've ever achieved it. If I have, it's very, very rarely. Yeah.
So we solved this previously by using Red Lantern Hal Jordan, taking away all power before bringing Lobo in.
Yeah.
Before bringing Lobo in. So the reason why Red Lantern Hal Jordan works so well with Claw of Horus is, even if the opponent has LexCorp to reverse power drain, shattering all the gears before the second Special 1 finishes means that at least the second Special 1 will drain, even if the first one doesn't.
Yeah.
And an alternate version of... So that's not this team that you're watching. So an alternate version of this Bounty Hunter Lobo team we used when we last did a video with him December 2022 was to only give him Tentu Totem and use Batgirl to start him with the second bar. And the usual problem with it's that if his special 2 doesn't knock out the opponent, you're going to waste a lot of time getting back to 2 bars of power.
Yeah, it's harder to sort of repeat the power game.
To reload, basically. So the current version that you're watching is another variation, and we're using Quick Engine as a third gear. As good as it is to boost the amount of damage over time, which Lobo has on his special 2, it is also great that the damage over time is repeated.
Yeah.
And if you combine that with his passive, the opponent's unable to tag out. And this is great against teams that have a tag out or tag in effect, right? If you don't want to let's say you're fighting Batman and Batman Ninja Catwoman is there.
Yeah.
You want to lock him in. You don't want her tagging in and let Batman save her.
Yeah.
Lots of things like that, right? And it is especially fun against New 52 Shazam. So he's one of those guys where if you trigger his passive and before he's tagged out, right? He's invulnerable. You can't knock him out. You just keep on doing Lobo's special 2 over and over again. So you can build up his damage. And what's funny is 20%, right? So I think his damage over time is 5 seconds. So essentially, every time you do it, it adds another second to his damage over time.
Yeah. I wonder if it's additive or like multiplicative. So if it's like it adds 1 second and then it adds 1.2 seconds and then it adds like 1.4 seconds and it keeps...
So it's funny you should ask.
Yeah.
Because if anybody who's watching this will be able to watch the footage and you can look at the seconds and see how long it lasts. You can count the number of special 2s that we do in a row and then you can see how long it takes when we release the opponent before they get their before they get the chance to be able to tag in. Keep in mind it's doubled by Quake Engine.
Oh, okay.
So it's funny. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's not a quick fight, but it's one of those times where it's fun to do as a thing to try to get his special 2 so powered up that he could easily knock out the opponent's teammates with one hit from a special 2.
Yeah, what it is you set an arbitrary goal that's different from winning fights or acquiring resources, which is to see how ridiculous you can make it. And it's fun in that sense.
Right. Yeah, so Shazam has to just sit and take it, which is funny, right? Because he's not got any power. He's got not any health, but he can't get knocked out and he can't tag out because of the damage over time passive.
Yeah.
And so the first attempt, I'm gonna see if I can find the footage for both my first attempt and the more recent attempt. The first attempt was before I'd given it enough thought. And with Rebirth Raven and Hawkgirl's teammates, the hardest part was stopping and letting the opponent's teammates tag in because they have 3 bars of power. Because they've been waiting so long, and we've done so many special 2s, it's coming in able to do super. And you know how super is prioritized over everything else. Yeah. So I've also got some newer footage where the better strategy is, and it wasn't intuitive to me, right? Like if I swap out Hawkgirl, it locks them in. If I swap out Rebirth Raven, then I still need to work at it to try to keep them both from getting knocked out by Shazam, because if you give him Necron Scythe, Shazam is going to do a lot of damage when he's sitting there stuck, burning, but not able to tag out. So don't swap anybody out. Just start using a special 1. It keeps on reloading. You keep him off balance. The lag time between finishing a special 1 and starting the next one is short enough that even if he builds up power, you can still keep on doing it. He never gets a chance to take a swing at you. Yeah, so in Rebirth Raven is actually interesting. She's useful in this kind of loadout too because she can steal power. So if Shazam happens to build up power, then you can steal it. But the good news is Quake Engine steals power sometimes. So it's usually enough while you're doing your special 2s, you just keep on doing that over and over. So here's the thing, like he's a lot of fun when you want to play with him, but I've always wanted him to be great. I mean, our avatar is literally Lobo. Yeah. But this version of the team is getting as close as I feel like we've gotten to making like a really fun, good, powerful team with Bounty Hunter Lobo. Now, if it were easier to get a special 2 immediately on tag in, where the first hit is ranged, like with Teen Titans Raven or New 52 Wonder Woman, he would be great, I think. Like that's one thing holding him back now, the way we've got him. And I guess there's another bonus that's worth noting is that despite having damage over time on his special 2, it still does a lot of damage. In fact, if you compare him to other characters with the same damage stat, like Shazam Prime, they both do the same damage on special 2, despite no secondary effect from Shazam special 1. So you're not getting a deduction because of that.
That's good.
And let's see, in my mind, I feel like Bounty Hunter Lobo was sort of the first attempt by the developers to make a more powerful damage over time character, where the damage for a special wasn't reduced for having that damage over time, right?
I'd believe that.
Yeah, because, they did it a bunch. Regime Superman did half the damage for being unblockable. Even Arkham Knight Catwoman does 3/4 of the damage for having damage over time, where a lot of characters will do half damage. And unlike last week's Batman Ninja Lord Joker, Lobo does not need to block when he tags in and does a swipe combo, because he doesn't close the space after a swipe combo as quickly. So there's plenty of opportunity to time his special 2 as the opponent comes at you to try to get it unblocked.
Even though that creates some issues when they have power.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like better when they don't have power, but worse when they do.
Right. So then in that case, I'm willing to give that 30%. I feel like that's the toll you pay for having this damage over time, and then it locks them in. And because we've got Hawk Girl, our tag out time is 4 seconds now.
Mm-hmm.
Their tag out time is 5 seconds, and it grows by a second every time I do a special 2.
Good point.
So easy to lock them in. Yeah.
So there you go. This is the 177th week of a repeating pattern that started in May of 2020. That's 4 complete cycles of a 43-week sequence and 5 weeks into our 5th cycle, with next week being Arkham Killer Croc, as long as sort of week 178 does not break from the previous pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
So we started using challenge characters for demos November 17th, 2022. We are still 2 away because there were 2 interruptions. That's John Stewart Green Lantern and Arkham Origins Bane. So we might when we get around to finishing those, our next job might be to do the challenge characters that are out of the sequence.
Yeah, so there we go. This week's multiplayer award is the Black Diamond, which becomes the Heart of Darkness, which gives you when it's maxed out, 30% damage boost on special 2. Any special attack applies 6% damage over time, which also drains 12% enemy power. A 30% power generation increase in the evolved ability, which is if opponents tags out, they receive damage equal to 20% of equipped characters' damage. It was last available on the 9th of March 2023. We are 145 weeks into this pattern. That's 4 cycles of 31 rewards and 21 weeks into a 5th cycle, with nothing missing, unlike the challenge characters.
Right.
Next week should be Batman Ninja Helmet, again, assuming that the pattern doesn't break for no reason, 145 weeks in, or 146 weeks in, I guess, next week.
Right. So it's a legendary gear, but not every legendary 4.5-star gear can be the best. And this is one of those that definitely is better than the 3.5-star gear.
Yeah.
But maybe not, spectacular.
It's not game changing. It's
Right.
not the sort of gear that you want to have on every kind of a certain type of, character.
Right.
It's something that you can use and use effectively, but it's not like necessary.
Right. The power generation boost doesn't get any better than this. I think League of Assassins Knives is the same percentage boost. Very helpful against a power dampening team. It's a good candidate as your 3rd gear on your Tantu Totem Master's Death Card character. The damage boost on Special 2 is also pretty good. The damage over time and the tag out damage are nice bonuses, but we don't run damage over times in general enough. And we use it a lot just on our straight specialist. So even if it only had the Special 2 boost and power generation boost, we'd still feel the same about it, that it's really good. It's a great piece of gear on that specialist loadout. And you can still get your 2nd bar of power pretty quick with maybe a little bit more than a combo, even when they're dampening your power. Yeah.
So there we go. Moving on to the store. We've got the Arkham Killer Croc Early Access Bundle for $24.99 Canadian. All prices will be in Canadian because that's the information we've got.
Like I like to say, it's the only currency that matters.
Yeah. So that's a corroborating clue. It's sort of our second piece of evidence that next week is going to be Arkham Killer Croc. It does come with 100,000 credits, and it doesn't unlock a copy in your store. So it's not a great deal, but it's kind of the average deal. It's not the extra terrible deals where you have to pay $25 and you don't even get the credits. Right.
In the store, also, the other new pack is the Ultimate Bundle Bringers of Justice. It's $125, $124.99. All right, what's funny is, and I don't know why I just noticed this now. So when it was first introduced, it was $65.99. And that was like in 2019, November. Mm-hmm. And since then, it has almost doubled in price. Yeah. But most of the doubling happened
fast.
Like it jumped from $95 to $125. And all right, so I'm looking at the dates.
Yeah.
The pandemic.
Oh.
it was before the pandemic. The price was less than 100. After the pandemic, the price was $125.
Interesting.
I don't. Again, is coincidence? I don't know, but it's just it's funny things you sort of start to notice after seeing it so often.
So it comes with 10 heroes. You get New 52 Superman, Dawn of Justice Batman, Dawn of Justice Wonder Woman, Injustice 2 Aquaman, Earth 2 Flash, Yellow Lantern Hal Jordan, Martian Manhunter, Rebirth Green Arrow, Earth 2 Hawkgirl, and Arkham Knight Batgirl. And all of them are challenge characters except for Batman.
Right, Dawn of Justice Batman, who was previously a random drop in a package. I mean, it's not a bad price per character. The problem is it's a huge outlay, and there's probably going to be a bunch of characters in that pack that you don't necessarily need or want.
Yeah. It's just hard to justify spending that much money for any, reason.
Yeah. Second week of the Justice League pack. Not great. Talked about it last week.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of other packs have been around for around 2 years for a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Phantom Zone just finished.
Yep.
So we're probably going to get a 2-week break from that.
Fight 62 is still broken. Mm-hmm. Last weekend's breakthrough for golds was Bane, Killer Frost, and Ares. So this coming weekend should be Sinestro, Green Arrow, and Scorpion. Link in the description to a Reddit thread from Devlin16, which goes through the complete breakthrough cycle if you want to check that out yourself. And then this is not the first week of the month, so we're not going to go into lots of detail for the glitches. I guess the important thing is that the challenge reset has been tested and confirmed for Bounty Hunter Lobo, and as of sort of our last awareness, the Phantom Zone reset was working. Right. And we always like to remind people to only reset one when you want to reset both. And think about that even when only one is up, because you don't want to get into a habit and then make that mistake. Yeah, and for those of you who are actually listening to this and this far in, so just stick around at the end. I've got some footage of the recent attempt when I ran into New 52 Shazam with Bounty Hunter Lobo. It was not as clean as I would have liked because I lost the invulnerability for Hawkgirl before and I let Rebirth Raven get knocked out, but it was still enough to power up Bounty Hunter Lobo and knock out both of New 52 Shazam's teammates, coming in with 3 bars of power each. And last but not least, we'd like to give a huge thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. That is Michael Devries, Irvin, Ruiz, and Hoshi127 supporting us on the credited level, as well as all the names you're seeing now who have supported us at some point during the pandemic. Thank you so much for your support, and thanks so much to all of you for watching. We'll see you next time. Komoda.